is the biggest, the baddest, the fastest, and the scariest track NASCAR visits in its calendar. It's a track that is loved by fans and feared by drivers. Even the best of the best can't feel comfortable when traveling at speeds and enduring situations that few can even conceive. 38 drivers in a traffic jam at speeds near 200 miles an hour is a recipe for pure excitement and danger. The 10th race of the 2024 NASCAR Cup Series season brings us to the Talladega Superspeedway for the running of the Geico 500. The weather at Talladega Superspeedway is not pretty. High 50s, low 60s throughout the day, large cloud cover with winds around 8 miles an hour heading north towards the racetrack, but the biggest question mark is a chance of rain. It is at 55% in the afternoon, but with the racetrack being so big, it would take around 2.5 hours to dry, so rain must stop around 1:30 p.m. local time, and is expected to get as high as around over 90% chance of rain in the early morning. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of MDK Race Day. Back once again. My name is Jet. Hope you're having a wonderful Sunday morning as we get you ready for today's race from the Talladega Superspeedway. Let's get over today's news and notes. Two stories to talk about heading into this weekend. The first story revolves around what has happened to racetracks around the NASCAR community. Last weekend at Texas and this weekend at Talladega, notice an absence into what has been taking place around the racetrack, and that is, of course, the scoring pylon. Drivers and fans have noticed relatively quickly and have responded negatively to NASCAR and SMI removing some of the track's scoring pylons. Watkins Glen and another track had been removing their scoring pylons earlier a few years ago, but now Texas and Talladega, unfortunately, now some of the newest tracks to have their scoring pylon removed. Now, NASCAR responded to media questions with a statement that said that the Talladega scoring pylon was old and outdated, and that the running order is on the big screen, and that fans are encouraged to use track Wi-Fi to access the NASCAR app to see who and where their driver is running. Personally, this is a very stupid way to look at this. First off, being at the racetrack, the Wi-Fi is not the greatest, and now you're gonna force fans to go on the app, which will more than likely overload the app and or the Wi-Fi, thus making it slower. On top of that, I don't think it's a good idea to have fans be looking on their phones instead of looking out towards a racetrack. Since they're at a racetrack, I'm pretty sure you want to do things that doesn't encourage them to be on their phones. Also, being at the racetrack, for example at Daytona, the scoring pylon, at least on the video screen, only shows 6 drivers, and it takes forever sometimes to get to know where your driver is running. So this is overall a very stupid idea, and knowing that the tracks make a lot of money from NASCAR's current TV deal, the fact that they're saying it's old, they could simply just replicate it or replace it to make a new one. Ultimately, this is just a very lazy and short-minded solution, if you want to say that, based on NASCAR's thinking. But anyways, the next story to talk about is IROC. Now, for those of you that have been fans of racing for a long period of time, you remember IROC that was involved for 30 years from the 80s up until around 2006 when it ceased operations. Well, Ray Evernham and Rob Kaufman are bringing it back. For the first time since 2006 in nearly 20 years, IROC will return on July 19th and 20th at Lime Rock Park, and it will be a part of the Speed Tour All-Star Race Weekend, featuring both an on-track racing exhibition and static display. The event will reunite original IROC competitors with cars racing in the legendary series. Fans will have the opportunity to see nearly every generation of IROC race car, with many being driven by former IROC cars. And hopefully this just leads to a potential full-on return of IROC to the racing community. I know, looking back through the highlights of IROC during its heyday, that it looked to be a very fun series to watch, to see all the greatest of drivers from any type of racing series come together to have some fun, to really see who is the best of the best at some of the biggest tracks like Daytona, Indy, and Michigan, to name a few. Hopefully this does lead to a full-on return to IROC in the near future. And finally, the NASCAR Xfinity Series. They raced yesterday at the Talladega Superspeedway, and in typical Superspeedway racing in the Xfinity Series, RCR, specifically Austin Hill, dominated the race, leading the most laps with 41, but when he crashed in the closing laps of the race after contact with Parker Kligerman, it became a free-for-all. But after horrible moves by drivers that I guess didn't want to win the race, 19-year-old rookie Jesse Love, in just his 7th NASCAR Xfinity Series start, holds him off to win at Talladega. That makes it now RCR winning 7 of the last 14 drafting tracks in the Xfinity Series. Riley Herbst, Anthony Alfredo round out second second and third place, with Ryan Sieg, even though he was involved in a crash, would end up winning the $100,000 Dash for Cash competition, edging out AJ Allmendinger, finishing inside the top 20. Now let's take a look at the point standings following Texas, with just 17 races to go until the playoffs begin. Kyle Larson still sits at the top of the board, 17 points ahead of Martin Truex Jr. Denny Hamlin stays in third. Chase Elliott, last week's winner, jumps up 2 spots to now minus 32. William Byron minus 38. Ty Gibbs now up 1, minus 55. Ryan Blaney losing 2 spots, now minus 57. 2311 teammates Tyler Reddick and Bubba Wallace both had good runs, up 1 for Reddick, Bubba Wallace up 3. This is the highest that 2311 has been with their 2 drivers in the top 10 in their entire history of the company. So incredible start to the season for those 2 drivers. And Christopher Bell back now inside the top 10, minus 85. Ross Chastain lost 3 positions, now minus 88. Chase Briscoe, the biggest mover, now up to 12th, minus 104. Chris Buescher stays in 13th. Alex Bowman, the biggest loser, loses 4 spots in 14th place. And Joey Logano currently now holds the final spot in the playoffs. Kyle Busch, first one out. Technically, he is tied with Joey Logano. Brad Keselowski minus 1 behind the cut line. Daniel Suarez with his win at Atlanta is locked in. Eric Jones now up to 19th place, and John Hunter Nemechek, his teammate, rounding out the top 20. Busch, the official beer of NASCAR and proud sponsor of the Busch Light Pole Award, given to the fastest driver at each NASCAR Cup Series event. Busch Light congratulates Michael McDowell for his 2nd career pole of 2024, as well as the 2nd career pole of his career, with his first taking place in the 2024 Daytona 500. He wins pole again at Talladega with a speed of 182.022 miles per hour. Since 2020, Busch Beer has invested more than $70 million as part of the NASCAR Cup Series premier sponsors. So let's take a look at the starting lineup for the 2024 Geico 500. It's a Ford lockout for the first 3 positions. Michael McDowell, and alongside him is a 2022 Daytona 500 champion Austin Cindric. McDowell's teammate Todd Gillen, great run for him, starting in 3rd place, and to his outside is the defending winner from this race, Kyle Busch. His teammate Austin Dillon in 5th place rounds out the top 5, a great run for that 3 team after what has been an awful start to the season. Martin Truex Jr. in 6th place, the highest Toyota in the field. Joe Logano and Chris Buescher rounds out row 4. Chase Elliott in 9th place, last week's winner and a former winner here at Talladega in 2 different occasions, sits alongside Christopher Bell. Row 6 has Ryan Preece in the 41 car, sits alongside Alex Bowman. Row 7 has William Byron in the 13th position, sits alongside the 2021 Fall Dega winner, Bubba Wallace. Row 8 has Ty Gibbs in the 54 car, sits alongside the Wood Brothers racing car of Harrison Burton. Row 9 has Shane Van Gisbergen making a return to the Cup Series, sits alongside Tyler Reddick in the Jordan branded Toyota 45 car. And right at the top 20, Daniel Hemrick and John Hunter Nemechek. Ryan Blaney, a 3-time Talladega winner, sits alongside Brad Keselowski, another former Talladega winner. Denny Hamlin, a 3-time Daytona 500 champion, sits alongside Anthony Alfredo in the 62 car. Daniel Suarez and Chase Briscoe make up row 13. Justin Haley, a former winner here in the Xfinity Series at Talladega, sits alongside Eric Jones. And rookies Josh Berry and Zane Smith round out row 15. Corey LaJoie and Ross Chastain, row 16, 2023 Daytona 500 champion Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Cody Ware making a return to the Cup Series for the first time since his suspension. Row 18 has rookie Carson Hocevar and Noah Gragson, and rounding out the 38 car field is BJ McLeod and Kyle Larson. Now, the reason why Larson is in dead last was because he was not allowed to make a qualifying lap after the team made an unapproved adjustment to the roof rails as they were pushing the car to the grid. So NASCAR handed them the penalty, therefore they were not allowed to take place in qualifying. But knowing Talladega, doesn't matter how you start, it's how you finish. So what can we expect here at Talladega? Well, in Talladega, anything can happen. The big one, always not an if, but it's a when. As for maybe drivers to watch out for, there is a vast majority. We know that if you're in the draft, you're in it, you can win it. But with this next-gen car, you have to be much more calculated with your moves. In the last 7 races, we have had 7 different winners. But if there is one big note that we do need to point out heading into Talladega, is Ford. Currently at the moment, Ford has still not won a single race in any of NASCAR's national series. Trucks, Xfinity, and Cup have all been either won by Chevrolet or Toyota. The Fords are fast. We mentioned the top 3 locked up with all 4 drivers of McDowell, Cindric, and Gilliland. You also have to mention the winners at Talladega driving Ford cars. Justin Haley, who won the Xfinity Series at Talladega, Joe Logano, a former winner, Keselowski, and Ryan Blaney, the 3-time Talladega winner, including the last time we were at Talladega in the fall. And this year they have shown once again that they have brought a car that can run well on the super speedways. In the Daytona 500, they led 103 of the 200 laps, dominated primarily by Joey Logano. So we know that the Fords are fast and they do have drivers that are capable of winning here at Talladega. But just because they are fast, it doesn't mean that they are invincible. You look at some of the Chevrolet drivers in the field. I mentioned RCR, which could be some underdogs in the field. Austin Dillon, we know how good he is on the super speedways. He won at Daytona twice, both in the 500 and in the August race a couple of years ago. Kyle Busch, a 2-time Talladega winner, including last year, all driving for RCR, starting in the 4th and 5th position. And we also know the Hendrick drivers. You have like William Byron, the Daytona 500 champion, and Chase Elliott, a 2-time Talladega winner, including with his win last weekend at Talladega. He's going to be entering this race with a ton of momentum. So those are some of the Chevrolet drivers you need to watch out for. As for Toyota, again, they do have a bit more help this time. Before, they were limited to just 6 cars with Joe Gibbs Racing and 2311 Racing. Now with Legacy Motor Club into play, now Toyota has 8 drivers to their fleet. But if you look at Toyota drivers to watch out for, really it's maybe around to 2 drivers, and that is Denny Hamlin and Bubba Wallace. We know how good Bubba Wallace is on the super speedways. He won his very first race here 2 years ago in the fall, nearly won last year until he kind of wrecked himself with Ryan Blaney coming to the finish of the race. And also Denny Hamlin. Not only is he a 3-time Daytona 500 champion, he's also won at Talladega twice, the last time being in the fall of 2020. So we know that those 2 drivers, specifically from the Toyota camp, can get the job done. But like I said, is Talladega, anything can happen. We have seen weird things take place at Talladega. I mentioned Austin Dillon's win in 2022 at Talladega. You had a driver like BJ McLeod and Cody Ware all finish in the top 5, and they're racing here today. So who knows? By the end of today's race, they could be in position to at the very least have a good finish. And even though Kyle Larson is not that good on super speedways, he'd be the first one to tell you, him starting in dead last doesn't matter. If the ball falls in his court, who knows? He could be in position to win, or at the very least have a shot at having a good finish at Talladega. That's what makes this race so much fun, is that anything can happen. But with this next-gen car, we know this aero package, it doesn't create the type of runs that we expected in the Gen 6 car. We did see at Atlanta, it could produce some incredible racing. In Talladega last fall, we saw drivers get a bit more aggressive. We saw much more 3-wide racing, not so much of a 2x2 kind of just drivers being stuck. We saw more drivers be aggressive to try and open up a 3rd lane, although it was very difficult. I won't be surprised to see drivers be very aggressive trying to make a 3rd lane, knowing that we are now under year 3 in the next-gen car. And I think drivers understand that, hey, if you're going to make a move, you got to make a move now. You can't just be waiting until the final 5 or so laps. You want to make a move, you better do it early so that you have time to, if you do make a mistake, you can get back up to the front. My Fantasy Live setup at Talladega, this is how it lays out. So I have Ryan Blaney, him being a former winner here 3 times. I got him into play. Brad Keselowski, Bubba Wallace, Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, I have him there because I feel like Kyle Busch, he just gives me the type of vibe where he either wrecks or he is going to be there for the finish, like what we saw last year. And in my garage, I have Justin Haley. Like I said, Talladega always produces those surprise drivers that just somehow show up at the front. Justin Haley knows how to get it done on the super speedways. He's a former winner here in the Cup Series, won his first race in 2019 at Daytona. Former winner in the Xfinity Series at both Daytona and Talladega, so he knows how to get it done on the super speedways. And just in case something happens to one of my main drivers, I think Justin Haley's a pretty good driver to slot in my garage pick. As for my pick to win, I got Bubba Wallace. I feel like this 23 team, just in general, has been getting better and better. 7th at Texas after he spun out. Should not have finished 7th, but somehow did. 4th place at Martinsville the week prior. Finished in the top 5 at Daytona. Finished in the top 5 at Atlanta. Finished 5th and 4th. I think he finished 4th and 5th at Daytona and Talladega this year. Again, really good super speedway racer. Knows how to get the job done. And I think that 23 car will go to victory lane here today, but it's Talladega, so who knows, I could be completely wrong about this, but that's what makes it so much fun. Anyways, that's enough rambling from me. Hope you all enjoyed this episode of MDK Race Day. Let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think is going to happen and who do you think is going to win? Until next time, my name is Jet from MDK. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the 2024 Geico 500. We will see you right after this race. Hopefully it will be on a Sunday and not Monday if it's postponed. Hopefully we can get the race in today, and we will follow up with a recap of everything that took place at Talladega. But until then, we'll see you next time.